My name is Elizabeth Marshall Thomas. I'm going to read excerpts from a book I wrote about growing old. I'm reading excerpts from the book. This one is going to be about how one, the challenge of dealing with new instruments like computers. Okay. I use a computer as if it was a typewriter. That's an old-fashioned device, something like a computer keyboard. Each letter with its own key, which when you hit it with your finger, it puts the letter on a piece of paper. These days, the world runs on the internet, so I use the computer for email. But often enough, I do something wrong, and it makes a big mess, which takes hours of fixing. Even so, I use my computer for writing because it's faster than handwriting, which of course is how most of us wrote, even after typewriters were invented. The quality of what you write isn't as good if you use a computer, but the writing goes faster. Even so, my computer has a mind of its own and thinks it knows more than I do. So sometimes it changes things automatically, and my time is wasted trying to fix them. Fortunately, I'm the client of a company with wonderful people who will log into my computer and solve the problems. I try to watch how they do it, so I'll be able to do it myself, but the processes are complicated, and whoever is doing them does them quickly, so it all seems too difficult and I don't learn. Then I remember my grandmother, Nana, who was born during the Civil War. She was afraid of the telephone. At times, she'd be the only grown-up in the house when the phone rang, and she'd steel herself to pick up the receiver. At times, she'd shout, "Mrs. Marshall is not home," and hang up forcefully. Mrs. Marshall was my mother, but Nana's name was also Mrs. Marshall. However, she must have been in her 70s when phones became common, so she never imagined that a call would be for her. But sometimes it was. When I was in my teens, I called our house from a neighbor's house because our door was locked. Nana didn't like to answer the door, and I didn't have a key. The phone rang a long time, and when I heard her starting to shout, "Mrs. Marshall," I screamed, "Nana, Nana, it's me." But she was hard of hearing, just as I am now, and she banged the receiver down as usual. I think of her when I fail to understand my cell phone, which is often. So I'll take a deep breath and remember the good old days when life was easy, when I could remember where things were and how to use them. I live in the country house my father built for us in 1935, and in the kitchen is a second-hand wood stove made in the 1800s. The stove works as well as it did on the day it was made, and its functions are intuitive. You don't need to learn how it works. If you look at it, you can see how it works, and you already know that if you put wood and paper in and drop a match on the paper, the wood will eventually burn. That stove is better than most items made today, even if it doesn't have as many options. All it does is warm the house and let you cook on it. But I don't need lots of options. I keep as close as I can to familiar items like my wood stove, which I know. It's soothing. I still have the washboard we used to scrub the laundry before washing machines were invented. Also the clothespins with which we hung the laundry on the clothesline outside. I keep the washboard just to look at. Now I do the laundry in a washing machine. Sometimes I hang the laundry on the clothesline with the clothespins, but more often I put it in the dryer. Sometimes I call my refrigerator the ice box, from the days when we got ice from a pond, kept it covered in a shed, and brought pieces of it into the house when we needed them. If others are looking for milk, I say, "There's some in the icebox." And when that happens, most elders won't notice, but young people look at me strangely. Things move too fast. My son's family now has a little round Google thing the size and shape of a donut, but without a hole in the middle, that answers questions for you. No doubt it can also hear you talking in the room, and if so, is undoubtedly transferring your remarks to Google. So I think it's best to be in another room if you're going to say that you're going to cheat on your income tax, or if you're going to drive when your voice sounds like you're drunk. In short, the Google thing is weird. I look at my landline phone and at the Encyclopedia Britannica that's on a shelf beside it, and I say, enough already.